Have you ever felt like someone knew the exact buttons to push just to make you lose your cool? Pixar's Inside Out actually shows where those buttons are and how they got installed in the first place. And once you notice, you can uninstall them for good. In the movie Inside Out, Riley's biggest experiences become core memories, special glowing orbs that power her personality islands. And when these core memories get touched by different emotions, they change color and change how Riley feels. This isn't just a movie trick, it's actually how your brain works too. Your brain also creates core memories that become the foundation for your emotional triggers. I've helped hundreds of clients identify and release these emotional triggers using a technique called timeline therapy. And what's cool is how perfectly Inside Out shows this process. In this video, I'll explain how your brain creates emotional triggers just like Riley's core memories, why certain experiences get stuck with specific emotions, and most importantly, how to release these triggers so they don't control you anymore. Let's jump in. In Inside Out, when Riley experiences something important, a special memory ball is created, and it glows brighter than regular memories and powers her personality. In real life, we call this anchoring, when your brain connects a specific situation to a specific emotional response. Here's how it works. Let's say when you were a kid, you got embarrassed when you gave a presentation in class. Your classmates might have laughed at you and then you felt really bad. At that moment, your brain created a core memory, connecting public speaking with intense fear and embarrassment. That memory got colored by those emotions. Now, years later, whenever you're asked to speak in front of a group, that core memory gets activated. You feel the same fear, the same embarrassment, and even though the original situation happened a long time ago, it still creates that feeling inside of you. And science confirms this. Your brain's emotional center doesn't know the difference between past and present threats. When something reminds you of a past bad experience, it fires the same exact emotional response. This is why in Inside Out, when sadness touches a happy memory, it turns blue. The emotional connection changes, transforming how Riley experiences that memory. In Inside Out, memory balls get sent to long-term storage but can always be brought back when needed. And in that same note, your emotional triggers get stored in your unconscious mind. What's interesting is that not all experiences become triggers. So what makes experiences become triggers while others don't? 3 things determine whether an experience becomes a strong emotional trigger. First, how intense the emotion was. The stronger the feeling during the original experience, the stronger the trigger. This is why really scary or upsetting events create such powerful triggers. Second, when it happens, your brain is more likely to create triggers during times when you feel vulnerable, such as during your childhood or stressful periods or significant life changes. And third, how often it happens. When similar experiences happen over and over, the trigger gets stronger each time. Or as neuroscientists like to say, when neurons fire together, they wire together. This is why repeated criticism or rejection can create such deep triggers inside of us. What Inside Out doesn't show is that these core memories often get linked together in chains. One trigger activates another, which activates another, creating a huge emotional response that seems way too big for the current situation. Think of it as like a ticking time bomb. This is why you might have like a really big reaction to something that would normally seem small in everyday circumstances. It's not about the current trigger, but the whole chain of core memories that it just activated. In Inside Out, joy and sadness journey through Riley's mind to return the core memories, and along the way, they discover something important. Sadness has a valuable role in processing different experiences. This is exactly how timeline therapy works to release emotional triggers. Timeline therapy is based on the idea that we store our memories along a mental timeline. And by accessing this timeline, we can release negative emotions attached to past experiences without losing the valuable lessons. Here's how it works. First, we identify where you see your timeline, and most people see their timelines in one direction, maybe from left to right, or right to left, or up to down. However it is for you, works perfectly for you. Then, you imagine floating above your timeline, looking down at your past experience from a distance. This creates emotional safety. This is similar to how joy and sadness can look at Riley's memories without being completely overwhelmed by them. They can watch without being consumed. From this perspective, we can find the root cause event, the first time you experience that negative emotion. And this is your original core memory that created that trigger. Then comes the best part. We release the negative emotion while keeping the lesson. Just like in Inside Out, when sadness touches joyous memories, they don't disappear, they transform and they gain new meaning. This is exactly what happens in timeline therapy. The memory stays, but the emotional charge disappears. You can remember the event without being triggered by it anymore. Now, you might be wondering, well, what happens to the brain during this process? Well, scientists refer to it as memory reconsolidation, the process of updating emotional memories. When you remember something in a safe state and add new information or perspective, your brain actually rewrites that memory, and the original pathway gets updated. This is why timeline therapy works so well. It's not just thinking differently about your past, it's actually changing how those memories are stored in your brain. At the end of Inside Out, Riley's emotional control panel gets upgraded as she starts to grow up. And similarly, timeline therapy helps you upgrade your emotional processing system. And the result? Those old triggers lose their power. You might still remember what happened, but the automatic emotional reaction is gone. You literally reprogrammed your response. And I've seen clients who spent years triggered by criticism, rejection, or specific situations that were completely transformed in a single session. The memory stays, but the emotional charge disappears. Now let's talk about how you can use these ideas with your own emotional triggers. While it's best to do timeline therapy with a trained professional, here's a simple exercise that you can try. First, identify a mild emotional trigger, something that consistently creates a negative emotional response. Next, close your eyes and imagine floating above your timeline, looking down at your past. And from this perspective, ask your unconscious mind to show you the root cause event, the first time which you experienced this emotion. Once you've identified this core memory, ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience that will allow me to let go of this negative emotion? And this is the most important part. Just as Riley needed to learn from her sadness, you need to gain wisdom from your experience before releasing the emotion. Finally, imagine releasing the negative emotion from all similar memories, from the root cause event all the way to the present, while keeping the lessons. For many people, this simple technique can begin to reduce the intensity of emotional triggers. For bigger or more complex issues like anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, or shame, working with a certified timeline therapy practitioner is absolutely recommended. Inside Out ends with Riley's emotions working together at an expanded control panel, creating memories that contain multiple emotions at once. This is a beautiful visual representation of emotional integration. Your emotional triggers aren't flaws or weaknesses. They're simply core memories that were created to protect you. But many of these protection mechanisms are outdated and no longer help you or serve you. And timeline therapy offers the path to freedom from these triggers and allows you to respond to life's challenges from a place of choice rather than automatic reaction. Just like Riley's memories evolved to contain multiple emotions, your experiences can be transformed from sources of triggering to sources of wisdom and growth. Until next time, remember, your core memories don't have to control you. You have the power to transform them. I'll see you in the next video.